Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeff Higgins from Higgins Storm Chasing. It is the 4th of the 2nd, 2016. Okay, in this video, just quickly, we will focus on what's happening right now and what's going to happen over the next 3 days, or at least the potential for flooding between Bowen and Fraser Island, extending inland through Emerald and all areas in between. Okay, so right now we have quite a fair bit of activity going on. Again, it's 1:30 a.m. in the morning. We've been on conference calls talking about this system over the next 3 days, but we'd like to have a look at the current. There's an area there northeast of Longreach which is showing up on models to have some quite heavy rainfall over the next 6 hours. Obviously areas around Aramac and Muttaburra there. These rainfall areas may reach 100 mil, which would cause renewed freshes through the Thompson River through Longreach. Emerald tonight has received 100 millimetres of rain through heavy thunderstorm activity. Gladstone almost 100, they're up to 90. Billawheeler 54. This is the past 24 hours or past 12 hours. So there's quite an area of Central Queensland now that is primed. We're seeing creeks starting to run. The ground is starting to become quite saturated due to rainfall over the past 4 days. So let's move on now, and we'll move on to the Bureau of Meteorology Queensland, who have issued this flood heads up, initial flood watch for Central Queensland districts. I will run through it. I feel as though it's very, very important that we run through this. It's an initial flood watch for parts of the Wide Bay, Burnett, Central Highlands and Coalfields, Capricornia and Central Coast of the Whitsundays. It was issued earlier on today. It's issue number 1, and they will reissue by midday today. All right, a coastal trough is forecast to develop in the Fraser Island area on Thursday and move slowly north to the Central Coast by Friday. The system is expected to become slow-moving near the Central Coast over the weekend, with widespread shower storms and rain areas expected to develop near the trough. Widespread 24-hour totals of 50 to 100 are forecast. So what that means is that the lot of catchment areas in rivers and creeks will receive quite a fair bit of rainfall every 24 hours. So this means we get a lot of runoff into the main river systems. Local heavy falls to 300 mils likely, mainly around the coast and ranges, and rainfall will persist in some areas for more than 24 hours. River rises are expected above the minor flood level are likely, particularly in areas that received significant rainfall recently. Now that is the CQLD area in general. Heavy rainfall may also lead to flash flooding. Now this would be under stationary thunderstorms. Catchments at risk in the floodwatch area: Sherwell, Burrum, Burnett, Colan, Baffle, Boyne, Calliope, Fitzroy, Pioneer, Proserpine, Don and southern parts of the Burdekin. I'm pretty sure the southern parts of the Burdekin can handle the rainfall. However, we do have some concerns for other areas. All right, let's move on to our HSC premium maps now. As mentioned in previous videos and updates, head over to Higgins Storm Chasing Home, premium memberships, and become a member, and you can get access to these maps. This is for Thursday for areas between Bowen and Fraser Island, stretching inland beyond Emerald to Kingaroy and that sort of thing. We're looking at heavy rain, damaging winds, flash flooding. Flash flooding is under thunderstorms or heavy rain areas. Exactly where they will form in these areas we don't know until live weather occurrences happen. All right, but that's your risk area with frequent lightning. Outside of that area, anywhere up there from about north of Townsville, say Ingham, down through inland regions, edging down towards the Sunshine Coast there, under a moderate risk for damaging winds, heavy rain, possible flash flooding, frequent lightning. Outside of that, chance of storms. If we were to scroll on to Friday, you can see that the areas from Bundaberg right up to north of Townsville have this threat of heavy rain, and damaging winds, flash flooding, creek flooding. That also extends on, obviously, to river flooding potential. And we move on to Saturday, and you can also see the heavy rain areas start to contract further north there, say from between Rockhampton and Bowen. Let's move on now, and I'll explain to you what's happening, because I think it's important that people know and start to grasp as to what all of these sort of warnings and forecasts mean, and I'll put it through in layman's terms. All right, so on Thursday at 4 p.m, this is when instability peaks. You can see that anywhere from about Fraser Island extending inland to Emerald has very, very high instability. Areas over southeast Queensland, which I don't have on the map, I've got Gympie there is a very, very strong southeast wind change that's going to push through during the day. This will cool temperatures and bring some showers, cloudy conditions, but most of all, and importantly, it'll cool temperatures down and drop humidity levels a little bit. I'll move on to that shortly. That's for Thursday. If we move on to Friday, you can see that instability levels shift towards the north. However, we still have issues down here from Bundaberg to Emerald and in that region as well. Even though the instability charts are not showing it, we'll move on to show you some wind observations that lead to heavy rain in these areas. For Saturday, instability levels shift even further north for the main peak of instability, but again we have heavy rain, flash flooding issues anywhere from say Bowen extending inland to Moranbah, Claremont, Emerald, Kingaroy down here like that. Okay, so what's happening with these winds and why are they so important? Well, the wind shows us where convergence occurs. Convergence in the atmosphere forces lift. All right, it can show stable areas coming through, unstable areas from the north. It can show dry air over here in the west, moist air over here in the east. There's a lot goes on with forecasting, and a lot of it has to do with winds. So this is the low-level winds on Thursday, and you can see the southeast winds really drive through here in southeast Queensland and push through here right up there to about between, say, Bundaberg and Rocky by Thursday afternoon. If we move on to, and of course above that you've got very moist northerlies coming in. The surface trough does extend through here, Blackwater, Emerald, Claremont, and up there like that. If we move on to Friday, GFS is picking up a surface low here off the Central Queensland coast. Very strong southeasterly winds pushing along the coast from, let's say, around about Rockhampton south, extending inland also to a convergence area here between Mackay and Charters Towers. On Saturday at 4 p.m, you can see the surface low has moved east away from the coast. We don't know quite about this surface low yet. However, we are fairly certain that these southeast winds will be maintained right up the central and southeast Queensland coast and reaching Mackay there. There's a convergence through North Tropical Queensland there, which should bring heavy rain, but we'll get onto that also shortly. We'll move over to the 500 level winds. Now, these are winds at about 19,000 feet. Why are they important in a situation like this? They show which way the heavy rain is going to be being pushed, which way the stationary thunderstorms could potentially build, and all that sort of thing. So if we look at 4 p.m. on Thursday, you can see the wind areas, heavy rainfall areas through the Bundaberg region and steering winds are generally from the west. However, we have winds coming in from the southeast as well. So what will tend to happen is you get these winds collide. As they rise up through the atmosphere, they rotate. And stationary thunderstorms and rain areas with heavy falls become a high-risk area between Fraser Island, inland to about Kingaroy, up here to Emerald, Claremont, Moranbah, and around to Mackay there, probably a little further south to Rocky on Thursday. If we scroll on and have a look at Friday at 4 a.m, you can see these winds here that start to turn from the north from Rockhampton to Bundaberg, north-northwest. All right, this is the sort of thing we start to see when we had the Caboolture flooding down here in Brisbane and southeast Queensland in May. These are the types of wind patterns you start to see in the atmosphere. Basically, you've got very strong southeast winds feeding in. You have lift in the atmosphere, which lifts these rain areas, thunderstorms, and convection up into a wind level that comes from a different direction. That tends to place emphasis on on stationary thunderstorms and heavy rain areas. I've seen these thunderstorms and rain areas deliver anywhere up to 850 mil overnight. So that's why we have forecasts for flash flooding and the potential of that. Exactly where they occur or where they will occur is very dependent on the day, on the night, and they can only be really identified once they develop. Okay, it's very important to stress that while these areas are under risk, flood watches, high risk for heavy rain and flash flooding, that means these people need to be on high risk. They need to keep a very close eye on forecasts, warnings, and alerts live on the day over the next 3 days. And we'll move on to preparation shortly. Friday at 4 p.m, again, you have a northerly component coming through here from Fraser Island north to about Rockhampton along the coast there. Again, stationary thunderstorms with heavy rain areas, and this could extend anywhere inland. Move on to Saturday at 4 a.m. We have general westerlies moving through. If we move on to 4 p.m. on Saturday, this is as far as we'll go with this one, but you can see areas from Mackay south to Rockhampton all of a sudden have northerlies at the 500 millibar level, which means stationary thunderstorm potential. They're delivering very heavy rainfall. Again, it's a potential, but it's areas like these that need to be on high alert. So I'll move over now to some of the rainfall, 3-hourly rainfall figures that I've brought up to show you an example of. They're not going to be very indicative. I can show you a couple shortly, but 4 p.m. on Thursday, you can see that most of the rainfall activity extends from Fraser Island north, just a few showers down here to south of that. Rain areas and severe thunderstorms with heavy falls occur anywhere from Fraser Island west to Emerald and right up through northern Queensland. All right, tomorrow keep an eye out for severe thunderstorm potential with heavy rain and possibly damaging winds as well. Heavy rain obviously leads to flash flooding. Okay, so we move on to Friday morning, and you can start to see these bullseye target areas of heavy rain that potentially start to develop. Again, it's in that area from Fraser Island to the Whitsundays. Look, some of these places could get up to a couple of 100 millimetres in a very short time, inducing flash flooding. When we get back-to-back 3-day rain events with heavy rainfall pockets, heavy rain generally across a widespread area, it's going to start to put stress or flood stress onto rivers and creeks. I'll get on to Bundy in a minute and I'll calm everyone down. We'll just start to talk sensible about it. I can understand why people, like in areas such as Bundaberg and Biloela, such as Jamb and downstream from the dam there, would be concerned with some of the warnings that go out. 4 p.m. Friday, we have heavy bullseye targets of heavy rain off Rocky. These could easily be overland, again anywhere in that general central and southern North Queensland region. If we move on to Saturday at 4 a.m, you can see the bullseyes off the coast. Let's hope they're out there. Rain is welcome, but not this type of rain. All right, it can cause all sorts of troubles. So let's go out here and let's drop a plot, and I'll show you something in the atmosphere in these types of conditions. All right, you can see the two red lines there, means 100% humidity, dew points all the way from the ground, all the way up to 55,000 feet. The atmosphere is absolutely saturated. You can't get a more saturated atmosphere than that to produce heavy rain. We have a look at the PW here, which is precipitable water. The water that can fall is 74 millimetres. You get, look at this, 3 hours rainfall, 97 mil. So you can get these develop anywhere over land. If we drop back anywhere over land from Fraser Island inland through Emerald and up here to the Whitsundays over the next 3 days. That's Thursday, Friday and Saturday. Need to be on high alert. We'll drop back here and I'll have a chat while we have a look at the live weather zone radar and satellite imagery. Let's have a chat about things. All right, so if you're planning on travelling anywhere through Central Queensland up to North Queensland and inland districts over the next 3 days, please keep an eye on road closures. Now, the best way to keep an eye on road closures is Google search local councils, such as type in Biloela Shire Council. It will bring up their regional shire councils, such as Banana Shire Council. On their website or their Facebook site, they should have and could have road closure updates. Now, I know that there's a fair few already in the Biloela Shire. Okay, there's about 20 of them. Road closures already tonight, this morning, today. Areas for, and that applies to all areas. If you're concerned about roads, type in the location, go to the local council and have a look at their road closure updates. It's far more up to date than any other site. Alternatively, you can head over to queenslandalert.com, and these shire councils are also there on Twitter, Facebook and website, and they'll have any road closures and flood issues on their sites there. Let's talk about river flooding. Okay, so the Bureau have issued a flood watch for Central Queensland districts, basically from about Harvey Bay, Bundaberg, in that region, Fraser Island, inland and north to about Bowen. This doesn't mean that these rivers are going to meet a major flood. All right, it doesn't mean that houses are going to be inundated and Bundaberg is going to be evacuated like we saw from XTC Oswald. What it does mean is that there is a high potential for these river systems in this area, and I'll bring them up. I'll show you on the map. We'll put rivers on, we'll take fields off, we'll take radar off, we'll take satellite off. You can see that there is quite a large network of river systems that run through this area. Okay, there's a lot of tributaries and river systems that are going to be catching a lot of water, a lot of heavy rain that it falls over the next 3 days, and they all feed down into a system. The exact amount of rainfall cannot be, and the flood heights cannot be determined until the rainfall actually falls. Then the hydrologists at the Bureau of Meteorology will determine the estimated flood heights for downstream areas. All right, so places like Biloela, obviously okay here for the Callide Dam, Jambin. We may see flooding through there. We may see moderate flooding through the Burnett, any of the river systems that have been mentioned. There is no need to panic. There's no need to think that you are going to be flooded out. Basically, what this means is you need to be on alert, watching closely. The sky's not going to tell you either, because you could look up and see that it's raining, but just 20 k's up the road it might be very heavily raining and that water's going to flow towards you. Warnings will be issued by the Bureau within good time. Flood warnings, severe weather warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings. We will also be issuing those warnings through our app and on Facebook. We'll get as much information out there as possible. However, keep an eye on your local council sites, the Bureau sites, TV, radio, listen to radio. Any information you can get your hands on is the best way to be in a situation like this, but it's very important that you do not panic in these regions. Please don't go and buy out your local Woolworths at Bundaberg, Gladstone, Rockhampton, Emerald, Biloela. Just buy what you need, okay, to last you a few days. You got to remember that other people are going to come along tomorrow or the next day and going to buy bread and milk, and there's going to be none left. There's certainly no need, of course, of panic for panic buying. All right. There's been nowhere that I know of that's ever run out of bread and milk. I mean, they run out, but if they run out, it has certainly got there and replaced within reasonable time. Okay. All right, so that's about all I need to talk to about to you now. We certainly have an elevated risk via this flood watch from the Bureau. We certainly have potential flood warnings in place or flood alerts in place for the following rivers: Sherwell, Burrum, Burnett, Colin, Baffle, Boyne, Calliope, Fitzroy, Pioneer, Proserpine, Don and Southern Burdekin catchment. This may change. It will be updated at midday tomorrow. We're looking at heavy rainfall areas up to 300. These forecast systems can deliver higher than that in isolated areas. We may see alerts issued for severe flash flooding in certain locations. Alright, that's enough from me, guys. Please stay safe and up to date with the latest weather information, no matter where you get your hands on it from, whether it be from us, the BOM. The more sources, the better. The more information you can get, the better. Don't limit it to one. Don't limit it to us. Get it from everywhere, but keep an eye out, you guys, through here. Stay safe. We'll do further video updates. These will increase in frequency. HSE app notifications will be sent. Websites will be updated. Facebook will be updated. It's going to be a long 3 days ahead. Stay safe, everyone, and good luck.